watching on this dance over there, because this really is a dance. She's using both feet, 2 keyboards, and she's going back and forth. So she gets full body exercise. We get to enjoy it from our ears. And a little bit you can see from out here, but we get to see the whole dance back here. And excuse me, that's how a lot of times we are in the world. We'll see one section of something, and that's all we know. We see from behind the organ, we see her head moving, we hear the beautiful music, but we don't necessarily see all these behind the scenes movements and things that go into make it. And a lot of times we think that, well, it's just music. I see her head, that's all. She's sitting down. And we don't realize how much and how multidimensional her actions are. And that's true about us too. Now we're going to jump a little bit ahead. According to the calendar, Father's Day is next week. But you know, we've been doing the 12 Hours of Man on the 3rd Sunday, so we're going to have Father's Day today. We're talking about God the Father. And you know, a lot of people who are not familiar with unity wonder why we say Father, Mother, God. Well, there's many reasons, but the one that I think is the most important is that we want to remind ourselves that God is beyond male or female. Sometimes you hear me say it, because we're trying to break down that kind of one-sided way that many of us learn to think about God. You know, when we talked about mothers on Mother's Day, we talked about that nurturing, the embracing, the yin quality. When we talk about God the Father, we're talking about that yang quality. Usually when we're talking about the Father God, we're talking about the God of rules, the God of laws. That's the God of the Old Testament. It was about laws. Now, we know that there are laws that we have to live under. If I jump down on this, I will go down. I won't float up. I haven't learned that yet. But gravity isn't mad at me. It's not trying to pull me down. It's just being what it is. And what I do with that law, whether it is getting into an airplane that's been designed to fly, or getting in a submarine that's been designed to go down, I'm working with the law in my experience. And the law doesn't care. Mother God, that aspect of God is the love that we feel. But Father God is the law, and it's impersonal. Gravity doesn't care if you are an alien from another planet, or if you are an indigenous person who's lived close to the earth. Gravity is going to say, that's up, this is down, and if you jump off a mountain, you will go down. Everybody, everything is under law. For us as spiritual beings, we work with the laws of the universe. First of all, we know that God is one. That's where we start. When we say unity, we're not only talking about our unity with God, we're talking about the unity of God. The God that we feel as individuals, that innermost God, is the same God that created the universe, that makes the stars. Now, when we think about the God that made the universe, that's a vast kind of a feeling, a process that we can't even begin to really understand. We've kind of gotten a scientific glimmer, but we really don't understand the process. It's so vast. Even the time frame is on billions of years, and our lives are like a blink. But we're under that same law, the same unity that makes the universe a universe. And this is not to say there aren't more than one universe, because God is God of what is and whatever can possibly be. Our God is a God of possibility. So it's not just this universe, but all potential universes are God, and more. God is more than words can express. And I'm sure you felt this. A lot of times what we're feeling is that personal aspect of God, but it pervades all of our experience. When you think back on your feeling sense of God, on your awareness of God in your life, it seems to very much be interested in you and what's going on with you. If you're having financial issues, you can see the divine acting in your life. You focus on that. You become aware of the divine in that area of your life, and you begin to see how it manifests. Same with any other area of your life. Let's say you're in school, and you're trying to decide what your major would be. Well, let's say that you're looking through the catalog, and a course catches your eye, and you read it, and it sounds like that would be interesting. And you continue, and you're looking at this catalog, and it's got all the departments in, and all those possible classes you can take, everything that's offered. And you get a chance to choose, well, I think I'll take that one. That doesn't sound too interesting, I won't deal with that. And you end up with a list of things that resonate with you. When you look at them, there's a sense of unity within that. Now that came out of you, but at the same token, there is the law that what you notice and give attention to increases in your experience. So if I am resonating toward physics, I'm going to notice things that resonate with the part of me that understands physics at that level and is interested in that. Now there may have been other classes there that dealt with physics, but they didn't get my attention because my attention is at the level of my development. If I am at a graduate level, I'm going to see courses in a different way than when I was an undergraduate. I won't even notice some things because they're not in my realm. That doesn't mean they don't exist. That doesn't mean that the possibility isn't still there. But I have made realized that which resonates with me. This is another way that we can see that personalization, as it were, of God. In that, as we focus our attention and intention, what fulfills that is drawn to us. All of us have had experiences where we thought of someone and they appeared, or they called, or we decided we were interested in something and we found books or people who knew something about that came into our experience. And you can experiment with this. It's really kind of fun. You set an intention and then just notice in your world how many things come. It can be something as small as a piece of trash on the ground that has some information on it, or a person who's an expert on it, or you flip the channel and something's coming on. It comes in many, many different ways. But what you give attention to increases in your experience. This is a law. This is not arbitrary. It doesn't care whether you're in unity or you're Catholic or you have no religion at all. This is a law of the universe. Now, when we're learning how to drive, we experience this because a lot of times, at least in my experience, if I'm looking at that and saying, I don't want to hit it, if I'm looking at it, I tend to drive into it. But if I look where I want to go, I tend to go that way. And when we're first learning how to drive, you're still looking at what you don't want, but you go right to it. And that happens in life too. And the law isn't mad at you. You're not being punished for not wanting to hit it, or not being punished because you noticed it. It's simply the law acting in your life. And if you want a different outcome, you do a different thing, right? Isn't that the definition of insanity, doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome? We're not insane. We're not even unintelligent. We understand this. In this space-time that we live, it's easy for us to get fascinated by the things that are going on around us. It feels like it's happening to us. But that's only because we're paying attention to these things and we have drawn them into our world. We all have 24 hours in a day. We'll assume that we all sleep 8. We know that some of us don't. Some of us will, but let's assume that we've got 8 hours. So that leaves us, what, 16? You can choose to spend your time focusing on international news. How does that make you feel? Many times it leaves us unsettled. That is the law telling you the effect of that focus in your experience. Now some people would do that and their intention would be, I want to spend my time working on this particular issue. And that's perfectly valid. But someone looking at the very same international news might have a whole different way of dealing with it. They may choose to put their energy into peace rallies. You may choose to go into the medical field. Someone else may choose to enlist. They're all responding to the same stimulus, the same input, but with different outcomes based on who and what they are. And it's all right. The point is that you are a unique focus in God. You are an individual unlike any other. Your way of thinking about things, your way of experiencing things, has never happened before and never will again, even if you've got a twin. So that means that those things in your mind and spirit that make you resonate toward a certain direction is a kind of a guidance system. Add that with how you feel. We all have feelings. We interpret them differently. But we all basically want the same things. Everybody basically wants to be loved, peaceful, supported, understood, to make a positive difference in the world. And we have different ways of doing that, and they're all good and all valid. It's important that we realize that we never act in a vacuum. All of your thoughts, all of your feelings, all of your propensities are affected by those around it. That's part of our unity. We are individuals, but we are part of a larger unity. So as we put our intentions into the world, our desires, the universe says yes. So if I want to learn how to ride a bicycle, the universe says yes and makes possibilities for me to ride a bike. A bike might be given to me. I might be somewhere and someone says, here, try this. Any number of things can happen. But if my focus is on that, the universe conspires so that other people, other events, whatever needed, happens so that I can fulfill that. So why is it that sometimes we put a desire out there or an intention and it doesn't seem to manifest? We can embody as much of God as we can spiritually embody. So if I am desiring to learn a new skill, but I don't believe I can, I have put a block in front of my openness to learning. As much as I try, my belief is going to affect the amount of learning that I can include and incorporate. No one can change your inner feelings but you. But a lot of times we're not even aware of some of our attitudes and feelings. Sometimes we think we feel one way, but in that deep inner part, we're feeling something else. Or we tell ourselves, because we're trying to talk ourselves into feeling a certain way, we say, oh yeah, everything's great. But our feeling is not that. It's not just our words, it's our inner feeling, our real feelings that matter. The universe doesn't need our words. The universe doesn't need English or any other human language to communicate. The universe knows exactly what's going on inside, even when we don't. This world is kind of a feedback system in that if I'm getting results that I don't like, that's telling me that up until now I had a certain way of looking at things and the outcome is not what I want. Just as if I want to rise up and I jump down and I go down, that's feedback from how I'm using the law. It has nothing to do with my worthiness or my judgment about it. It is a law, and I'm being acted upon by the law by what I do in relationship to it. So if I'm getting feedback that's telling me I'm using the law in a way that does not serve me, does not lead me toward what it is that I desire, that's telling me where my dominant feeling tone has been up until now. A lot of times when we first come into this teaching, we make a comment and we realize, oh, that's not as positive as it should be. Cancel, delete, get rid of it. But it's your basic feeling tone, your dominant feeling tone. If you are generally a very peaceful person and you get ticked off with somebody in traffic, then you release it and go on about your day. that one thought is not going to damage your feeling tone. That contrast reminds you that there is that within you that can still be irritating, which is not a bad thing. It just is. Now, if you live in irritation, that's what's going to outpicture in the world. But the intermittent or occasional thought that is different is simply showing you some of those residues, some of those old habits that may be still lingering around in the corners or whatever. So we don't judge ourselves. We simply take it as feedback. So if I know that I want to have more friends in my life, but I'm tending to be a homebody. I don't call people, I don't go out, I'm kind of shy. That's okay, but that's not compatible with me necessarily having more friends in my life. Now, I have the choice. I can continue to be at home and wonder why people don't call me. I can continue to be a kind of a hermit and then wonder why I don't know more people. Or I can take myself as my shy, quiet self and go places where shy, quiet people like to be and meet more people like me. But I have to take that action in my life. The law is what you do, what you picture out in the world comes back to you. Time space confuses us sometimes because it looks like it's happening now. But remember, all of this came from an idea. All of this came from consciousness. It takes time for consciousness to manifest in space-time. So everything that you're experiencing is from the past. I'm speaking from what I know. I knew that before I walked here. You're listening with the consciousness and the understanding based on what you know, what feels true for you. And you developed all of that before you got here today. These chairs, we know somebody had to design them, build them, sell them, ship them, all of that stuff. It could have been a month, it could have been years, we don't know. But all of these things came from someone's consciousness. Now, when we're working with each other, it seems to be instantaneously. You're hearing my words, I'm seeing your faces. It seems like an instantaneous conversation. But again, these words are cloaking an idea. And words do not ever really convey that real feeling. They only can kind of sketch what that thought is. And we try to communicate, but the same word may not mean the same thing to you. A word that has a happy connotation to me might have an unhappy connotation to someone else. So it's more than just our thoughts being communicated. We want feelings to be communicated to, and feelings sometimes get discounted. Sometimes we take feelings as being soft, unimportant, or something to be controlled. But feelings give you a tone, gives you that weighting, as it will, the where we put the words in terms of how it fits within our psyche. So when we communicate feelings through words, a magical thing happens in that if I say I love you, that is just 3 words, but it carries so much more, and you understand my words based on the so much more. That's still your past. So all of this, our feelings, the things we see, each other, our bodies, are the result of things that we have thought and felt and believed in the past. Now this is a good thing, because those things that we want to say cancel to don't immediately jump out into our world. But it also gives you an idea of what that feeling tone has been. In this complex society, sometimes we really don't know our deeper feelings. We may think we do, but you can always look to what's being outpictured in your world as a clue. The blessing is that, that at any moment, you're in the now. Right now is the only time you have. The past is over with. You can change your feeling about it, but you can't change it. At least we haven't figured that one out. The future is a million possibilities or more. And each choice you make in the now affects that future. Now is your choice point. Now is the only time you really live. It's when you're in the now you remember or project. But making a choice requires your action now. If I choose to sit down, I can only do that now. I may think about doing it in the future or remember having done it in the past, but for this body to sit down must be down in the now. Consciousness is that much faster. So if you make an inner decision that you're going to live from your center of peace, and you run into someone who is not peaceful, sometimes the feeling is, well, I'm being peaceful. Why is this coming into my life? You know, I mean, I said I'm lining up with peace. The universe has, I won't call it funny, but interesting ways of showing you where you are. One of them is for everything to harmonize. I'm being peaceful, peace is coming to me. That's letting you know you're on the right track. That's positive feedback. I'm being peaceful, why is this person in my face? That's letting you know the true degree of where you are. Do you remain peaceful? Or does that get you going? And many times, when we're making a transition to a new way of being, there are little, we'll call it rubbish in the corner. You know, you're cleaning up the main space, but there's that little rubbish in the corner that you didn't quite get. And that comes out in those not so peaceful people that come into your world. All those things that are going wrong. They're not wrong. That's feedback. That's all it is. It's just feedback. And it only becomes wrong if we put our weight, our emotional weight, our spiritual weight on it. If I see, oh, there's a piece of trash, I'm going to go pick it up and throw it away, I'm not still thinking about the trash tomorrow. I'm not carrying that with me. I'm not calling myself bad because I left that trash there. I go, I pick it up, put it where it goes, and I'm done with it. The same things with the things, with what happens in our life. If something happens in your experience that is contrary to what you want your dominant feeling tone to be, we deal with it and let it go. We don't have to hold that. We don't have to feel bad. We don't have to remember that when we see that person again. Every moment is your now point of choice. And you can choose to be as peaceful as you want to be, as loving as you want to be. You can live in joy all the time. All this other stuff is from the past, so that is not your driving force. The weight does not drive the boat. So if you are in the midst of turmoil, that was the outpicturing of past thoughts and feelings. You now are a spiritual being centered in God with all of the power of God right here expressing as you. So you have the choice at this moment how you will respond. And you don't have to get involved in the turmoil that's around you. The eye of the hurricane is very peaceful. You can be the eye or you can be the wind wall. You have the choice. Law doesn't care. Law doesn't care if you've been violent all your life. If at this point you make that choice that I will now be peaceful, that I understand that and I want to embody this in my world, then more and more you will find that the detritus from the past is going away and your now moment is that, your intention. It gets a little tricky in this world because it looks like this stuff is going on now, but it isn't. Now is a consciousness. Time is an illusion, they tell us. It's kind of hard to break the habit of living in time when you're in these bodies. But now is a point. It's not a minute. It's not a second. It's a moment. How do you measure a moment? Moment by moment is how we live. And moment by moment, we can choose our inner state. This other stuff, we can choose to let it affect us, but it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to. Remember, one person can change the world, and usually that's how it starts. So if you choose to live from that highest self in you, which I guarantee is higher than you think it is, you begin to outpicture that in your world, and then like a pebble, it goes out, and more of your world is more spiritual, more uplifting, and it continues on beyond your vision. And each of us, little beacons of light. If you have 1,000 houses, and they each light up a lamp, the whole neighborhood is going to begin to light up. And that's what we're doing. That's why there's so many of us on the planet coming from so many different aspects. Because we each have our own little beacon of light where we are. So you as you are doing exactly what you need to do to be the highest and best you, as are you, as are you. And each of us, as we get higher in our consciousness, we can see more. Just as I made an intention to be peaceful, and I noticed a little trash there from the past that I need to pick up and deal with. Now I'm noticing more because my light is shining more. When I was in darkness, I couldn't see the little trash. I couldn't see the little bits of anger or dissension that were still stuck on me. And I say, come on, because those are responses that we have learned. You at your core are pure, perfect peace. Perfect love. You can't change that. That's who you are. You came from God. God is not limited by anything that has happened before. That's why we keep discovering things and inventing things, because principle doesn't care. Principle is not bound by what has happened in the past. Principle is ever new, ever creating, ever expanding. And that's the same with us. We get to a level that we think, wow, I've grown a lot. I understand more. I can see the effect of my actions in the world, and I'm really at a different spiritual level. But then you realize you've climbed this particular set of steps, and you get on the landing, and you realize there's a whole other set to climb. And you get up there, and there's even more. Your possibilities continue to expand and develop. So we never get to the end of this. There's always more. And because the world is, this world, this concrete world, is an outpicturing of all of us collectively. And as we grow and as we develop, we affect each other, and we raise the whole planet. So we have a responsibility, an ability to respond to what's happening out here. But the work is here. It all starts within. It all starts with our consciousness. And that's an individual thing. We have our families, we have our friends, we have our co-workers, and that's kind of our environment. Sometimes we are at peace with that, sometimes we are not. But we can still be a center of peace regardless of what's going on out here. We can get that peace from within. That's why we practice prayer and meditation, so that we know how to get to that still small place within. Because even if we can't find it, it's still there. Even if we don't feel our connection to the one, it is still there. And because it is what it is, we can never be separated, and it will never stop loving us. It will never stop nurturing us. It will never stop communicating with us that this is how it operates, this is what you can do, and this will be the effect. So that feedback system is always there, and it's there in love. This is not a God that smites people and obliterates them from the planet. That's an old understanding. Remember, just as our consciousness has grown up from a baby to where we are now, the same too with humanity. We began not understanding electricity. We don't really understand it now. But electricity was still there 6,000 years ago. Nuclear physics was still true, if it is, back then. We know all this about medicine, but 100 years from now, they'll laugh at the stuff we do and say, didn't they know they were killing themselves? You know? Because we look back in time, and that's what we say. How could they take that? That was just, that's why they died, you know? So our knowledge is more than it was, but it's not as high as it will be. Same thing with us. We are developing spiritually. We're becoming more and more of God in action. That's a good thing. All right. God is a good thing.
He has something he wants to say.
From the mouths of babes. There's a lot that we felt and understood on a nonverbal level when we were little, that we are now being able to communicate to each other. And a lot of that is even on the feeling level, beyond just words. So who knows what was in that lovely one's thoughts and feelings. We'll find out down the road. The main point that I want to convey is that law is our friend. We are not punished for what we do. We are punished by what we do.
Another example.
I don't think I have to explain. Namaste.
Namaste.